Okay, so I wanted to get your guys' opinion on something. Um, I just have to tread carefully with what I say, just in case anybody listening wants to rule it a punishment. But so in my home league, it's a bunch of friends, it's a home dynasty league. We love punishments and side bets and various things that happen. Uh, and we have an AGM every year and talk about rule changes and whatever. So last year I was uh, like trying to build a crowd that wanted to change two positions to add two flexes, and essentially it would have gotten rid of a couple positions. And I was trying to just drum up some interest in that and see. So I would hopefully get it to vote, pass a vote at the AGM. And nobody was really on board with it. So they shot it down. And then they were so annoyed with me bringing this up that they actually made a rule that basically said if I ever brought it up again, I would be punished. Or and this was going to be a broad sense rule. If anybody had brought up anything that was going to be so annoying, they could be sentenced to punishment with the Merlot Cola rule. Which, if you've ever heard of Merlot Cola, it is exactly that. Merlot mixed with cola. It is disgusting, and you'd be forced to drink one of these, like a full bottle, I think, at the AGM the following year. So since they made this rule, I have not brought up the issue at all. But in the last 2 weeks, in the league chat, everybody's just goading me on and bringing up the specific position, trying to get me to say something negative about it or whatever. And I feel like this is entrapment. They're trying to entrap me and cause an issue, but I haven't mentioned it at all. Is this entrapment, or and should they be able to punish me for anything?
Is it the tight end position that you're talking about? Because I've been trying to get rid of that this year.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want tight ends in my league anymore. But
I mean, yeah. I feel like baiting is part of it, especially if you're the one who started it. How can they not try and bait you into it?
Well, sure, but like I haven't even said anything, and then even the other day I made a comment and I put like hashtag sarcasm font, and the commission steps in and is like, "FYI, watch it on the sarcasm. You're towing the line." I was like, "Come on, like I'm playing along. I'm not actually trying to get the position removed. I'm not even going to mention it anymore. Like I'm not even pushing for it at all." But they're still just like egging me on. I'm just curious what you think on stuff like that.
I think it means that they're starting to crack. Like they didn't think you would make it this far without bringing it up. So they're like, all right, we got to do something about this. They want you to have the drink. And the one way to do it is by baiting you into it.
I guess.
I think it's a good strategy on their part.
All right.
And you just got to deal with it, I guess. Yeah. But now I'm curious.
So here's my question, right? Because they made an entire rule around this. So obviously we're getting your side of the story here. I need to know, how bad were you begging for this rule change that they had to make a rule about you badgering them?
Well, to be honest, I don't think that it was too bad. I just mentioned it different times, like throughout the season in the group chat, and then proposed the league.
Like, I mean, I'm thinking leagues that I'm in with my buddies and stuff like that, my home leagues. I can't imagine bringing something up a couple of times throughout the season and then being like, no, that's it. If you talk about it again, you have a punishment.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was worse. I guess they'll have to tell me after that. I thought
the truth is coming out.
Whatever.
All right, so now that we've gotten past that part, yeah, so here's the thing about the entrapment. I think it's definitely entrapment. And furthermore, I think they're kind of breaking the rule by doing what they're doing. So now you should make them all drink.
I think it depends on how they're bringing it up.
Well, they keep just mentioning the position and talking about how great said position is. And
I like that.
Basically asking my opinion on it. And I'm just like, yep, they're great. Like,
it's got to be kickers.
Oh, I can't confirm.
You're not bringing it up. I'm bringing it up. It's got to be kickers.
You know what's interesting is kickers have been, I don't know about you guys, but in my home redraft leagues, kickers have actually been important. They've actually played a significant role this year.
I wasn't being sarcastic. Give me kickers, get rid of tight ends. I'd rather have kickers than tight ends.
All right, sure. Let's campaign to get rid of tight ends.
I mean, outside of 4 tight ends, the rest are useless anyway. Might as well have kickers scoring points.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. There's some kickers that
You're
are
not
probably
wrong.
scoring more than tight ends.
Here's the thing that I think more and more leagues are moving to and should move to is just do flexes all around. I don't even know that you should have positions anymore. To be quite honest with you, sometimes I mean you have to have a couple of minimum requirements, right? But I'd go with the base minimum. Do one quarterback, one one running back, one wide receiver. Maybe you throw in a tight end unless you hate them, and then you do a super flex, and then you do the rest flex. That's how I like. That's what I want to see in leagues.
Yeah, well, and I actually raised that just the other day with one of the people because we did end up adding a second flex and decreasing the requirements on wide receivers last year. But I was like, maybe we could push towards doing that exactly. Minimum of start one of the main four, and the rest flex for the other skill positions, and then kickers and team defenses are going to be there for a while. Although one guy did recently raise going to IDP instead of or a couple IDP positions instead of team defense, but yeah, overall. I think that flex is probably the way to go. More, it just opens up the way the strategy you can build your team, and have your different starting requirements that way.
I mean, you have to take into consideration the scoring too, obviously, when you're doing something like that, right? Because in leagues like some of the Scott Fish leagues, where he's seriously minimized the importance of the wide receiver because he hates them, you have to maybe dial up the number of wide receivers that you have to start just to give them some kind of importance. But so you got to balance things like that. But
yeah, fair enough. Anyway, I think we've talked about my home league enough. We can move on to the open of the show.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Gut Feeling Podcast. My name is Jason Tran. That is Derek McCreath with me as always, and we also have our third guest, Kevin Cotillo from the Falafel House Podcast. Thank you again for coming on this week, Kevin.
No problem. I think it's odd that I'm back for a second time, and yet the other guys from the Falafel House Podcast have yet to join you. For me, I just keep telling you guys, and you don't believe me. They just don't like you. I don't know why. It's personal now. I think you guys should be upset.
I was actually thinking about this earlier that you mentioned before, and Sal and Steve keep telling us, like, we really want to come on. We're really excited to come on. And then they keep avoiding us like the plague. So I'm pretty sure that they actually hate us. And you just brought us in as part of Falafel umbrella by yourself. And they actually are starting to hate you now, too.
Yeah, they do. Well, they've hated me the whole time. They just, at this point, they need me. So I'm not sure for what, but they do.
It's the reason why I'm not upset about it is because most people dislike me. So, it's just another couple guys to add on to this. Sal's been bashing me since the off season, I think. So it's I'm used to it by now. But
I will tell you something. I will tell you something briefly about Sal. If he's not bashing you, that's when you need to be worried.
Right. Yeah. That means something bigger is probably coming. But yeah, I think Steve is set up to come on next week, and then hopefully we can get Sal on after that. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm really bad at planning. So I asked Steve, I think yesterday, and he's like, "Thanks for giving me a heads up." I was like, "Yeah, well, kind of just wing it over here."
To be fair, I asked on the weekend, and they actually avoided it. And Sal was like, "Well, I think Steve should get on there," and Steve just didn't say anything.
I told Steve that. I'm like, apparently Derek asked last week. I'm like, I don't know, I missed that one. He's like, "Oh yeah, he did." He's like, I didn't think that was like official. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, I'm just here.
All good. We're happy to have Kevin here for the second time, and yeah, I think it's going to be a good show. Well, maybe not. Who knows?
We got a couple things unplanned, and then we've got some things to talk about that's kind of progressed over the last week or so. So let's just jump into it. I only put down one thing to talk about this week. It was the only thing that was kind of bothering me, and I originally had it in mind because I thought Steve was going to be on, because I know he's a big Aaron Jones truther, or he was in the offseason at least. But last week, Aaron Jones ceded some carries to Ty Montgomery. I think Ty actually out carried him or out snapped him last week or something like that. But it seems like nobody knows what they're going to do. It seemed like Aaron Jones was running away with the job, and then all of a sudden last week it's like maybe not. But I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on what these two guys, what you think their roles are, and who we can rely on for at least the rest of the season this year.
So I'll take it first. I think that, like McCarthy said, he's gonna take them as a running back by committee now, and I don't think that's the right way to go. He just doesn't seem to be handling it the right way, because Jones obviously showed that he's been the better football player this year at the running back position, and I don't know why. Like maybe he just had one bad game. I didn't see the game last week to know what was happening as to why Jones wasn't doing as well or wasn't getting as many snaps. But he had a bad game or a down game, and then all of a sudden to put him back into a committee with Montgomery, I just don't think that makes sense. I think that they should use Montgomery as a back, like a change of pace type back, or put him in as a wide receiver, as a slot. Use him in the way that he used to be used, because Jones has just shown that he's a better running back. Kevin?
Yeah, I think for me the one issue I have with Jones, and I think you're absolutely right. He's looked like the better running back. I think he's got a much higher yards per carry average. He just looks a lot more than Montgomery. And I've been saying for a year and a half now that I don't think Montgomery is a running back. I think that eventually they move him back to wide receiver anyway, because they're going to need wide receivers as soon as the end of this year. Being a free agent and things like that, but I think the problem they have is I don't know that Aaron Jones is really in the pass protection game as far as Ty Montgomery and being able to catch. I don't think that's just a skill set developed yet. And so I've seen it before. If you use guys as only a change of pace back, you really limit what they do, or you really limit what you can do, because you're then telegraphing to the defense what you're doing. So you have to kind of switch those guys in, and you have to mix them in. And we saw Ty Montgomery be successful, at times. So I think they feel like he can still be successful. He can, they can limit his touches. I think they just have to, they want to just find the right groove. I don't know that it's out there, and I agree with you. I think they should move to one. I don't see it for this year, particularly with Aaron Rodgers out, with the offensive line being as beat up as they are, and all of that. I think that for this year, that's what you're going to see, and we better get used to it.
Yeah, I think with Aaron Rodgers out, it changes a lot of things for the whole team. And as far as the rest of the season goes, I'm a little bit concerned about every single position on that team, because Hundley has looked as bad as I thought he was going to look. And I think it's affecting the running game, where they can't give Aaron Jones as many carries as they'd like to, and they're putting Montgomery out there more because he's going to have to dump the ball off a little bit more. So maybe that's what it is, and maybe it's just the fact that both running backs are going to get carries and touches and things like that. So maybe neither one of them is the right answer right now.
Well, maybe change the pace back was the wrong term to use for Montgomery. Maybe I guess what I meant more was, like, for every 2 to 3 series that Jones gets, Montgomery should get one. Just like they should be using him more and mix, like, say, okay, this series we're going to have Montgomery out there essentially, and maybe it's more complex than that to just say, well, this series we're going to roll Tymo, and then this one we're going to go Aaron Jones. But I guess that they should just be like a 60-40 or 75-25 split on number of carries is what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that we haven't talked about yet is Mike McCarthy's not a very good coach. I talked about this on the Falafel House podcast that we recorded earlier, which will probably be out 2 days ago, I think, if I have my math correctly with our release schedule on this show. So yeah, it's just McCarthy's just not a very good coach, and he doesn't. You can see it when Aaron Rodgers is out. He just doesn't game plan well. And his offense is his offense, and he's going to run it no matter what. And when you don't have Aaron Rodgers, you need to make adjustments, and he just doesn't. And I think that's part of the problem with this whole offense, and it's affecting all these guys.
Yeah, I saw somebody on Twitter asked a question. It was like, what percentage of snaps do we think Aaron Rodgers was actually audibling that from what they're calling? And it's like, it's got to be more than 50% of the plays that he's just like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this instead. But yeah, I don't think McCarthy's that good of a coach as well. And he's probably gotten lucky to have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, keeping him around, I guess.
Like Aaron Rodgers, a lot of mistakes when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers for sure. So,
definitely. So the next thing I put in here just because it's kind of a topical thing coming up. So the Vikings just activated Teddy Bridgewater to be their backup through Sam Bradford on IR, but they still obviously are rolling with Keenum for now. How long do you guys think that lasts, Jason?
I don't think Teddy starts this year at all. I think Keenum's going to keep going. They've won 4 games in a row with him. I think they just let him ride it out. It wouldn't be smart for him to risk Teddy's injury back out there right away. It wouldn't make any sense anyway. I mean, Keenum's been playing with the team pretty much the whole season, except for the couple of games Bradford played. But I just, for a team that's probably going to make the playoffs, I can't imagine just making a quarterback change right now. I mean, they're winning games. Maybe not because of Keenum. I don't know how they're winning games personally, but it just doesn't make sense to me to throw Teddy in there right away. I don't think Teddy was playing that great when he was playing.
Playing terrible teams. Their last 4 games are the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers without Aaron Rodgers, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Cleveland Browns. That's their 4 in a row.
Yeah, maybe that's how they're winning games.
I mean, I think Case Keenum is playing relatively well considering what who he is. I think it's kind of falter at some point over the next games when you see better teams like and the Rams and the Lions and the Falcons and the Panthers who have much better defenses come in. I see him struggle a little. And the second he kind of falters is when you're going to see Teddy. Because, look, at the end of the day, right, I don't think they want to get a look at whether or not he's ready and capable.
Yeah, I think like, do you think they'll have a really short leash on him? Because I do think that it doesn't make sense to put Teddy out there immediately because they're 6-2, they're leading the division. Maybe the quality of their opponents hasn't been that great, but still they're winning. So if they keep winning, even if he doesn't play great, if they keep winning, I don't know how they take him out. If they start to take a turn for the worse, for sure, they lose one game. But he plays. Keenum keeps playing okay. I don't think they take him out right away. But if they lose 2 games in a row, then I think they throw Teddy in there. But as long as they keep winning, and he's playing well, or like up to what he's been doing so far, I don't really think that they throw Teddy in there either. I kind of agree with Jason that they don't start him unless they absolutely have to. Because if they're winning and they're in a playoff spot, then it just wouldn't make sense to make a quarterback change.
Right. I think the thing is, it would have to depend on how they're losing the games. Like if it's going to come down to a Chicago Bears situation where their quarterbacks just turn the ball over like crazy, yeah, maybe I could see them putting Teddy in to limit the turnovers. But Keenum, as far as I know, is not really doing that. He's not really giving away games. So they just kind of need a game manager at this point and let their defense do the rest, I guess.
I agree with that. I agree with that. The one thing I will say, though, my final point here, I guess, in my argument is they were willing to do it with Bradford. I mean, they were willing to throw him back in and replace Keenum when they thought he was healthy. Turns out he wasn't. I don't know that they know Keenum's not their guy, right? So I think that in the end, I think they'll be willing to make the switch a little bit quicker than obviously you guys think. So.
But like, if they're still winning in the playoffs, would it make sense to make a change? I get that they would want to see what if Teddy can come back in and do it because they obviously spent some draft capital on him a few years back, and the injury was terrible. Like they went into last season with him planned to be the starter, and they were booked as a Super Bowl contender. But so they obviously want to see what he can do. But if they're already making a playoff run, do you think they would make a switch?
Yeah, because I don't think it hurts them any. Right? We've
That
seen
makes
Keenum come in and go out and then come back in and he's fine, right? So I need to check out Teddy if Keenum starts to falter a little bit. So
I guess if they make some separation in their division for sure, and they have a bit of a cushion, they could say, okay, we're going to start Teddy here, give him a couple games and see. And if he doesn't have it, we can always just go back to Keenum. But yeah,
Yeah, I could totally see it. Like Kevin said, it's probably not a big difference between the two quarterbacks, so maybe they do try and go that way and see what they have. I mean, even if it's just looking to next year too, obviously they're going to look for this year, but man, if the Vikings go anywhere past the first round of the playoffs, I'm going to be so surprised.
Yeah. Okay, the next thing that I put in here was this is kind of just a touch on because it's kind of old news at this point, but I wanted to touch base on like the fights and suspensions and ejections from last week. Like everybody's kind of been talking about this already, but how did Evans not get suspended or not get ejected for what he did? Like it was a total cheap shot.
I thought he did. I thought he did get ejected. Did he not?
He didn't get ejected. He got suspended for this week, but he didn't get
Right.
ejected.
Huh. I thought he
And
got.
then no, he was in for the whole game.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And then Green, of course, tries to choke Jalen Ramsey.
He didn't try. He sure did.
He did, and punched him. But like, and as Sal talked about on your podcast, Kevin, then threw some punches, like just a bare fist at a helmet. Never a smart thing.
so stupid. So stupid. I immediately turned to my wife and I was like, "What? Like, you want to hit him? You want to hit him with an open hand and like make some noise and shake his head around? Sure, I get that. But you punch it? Like, what? What are you doing?"
Yeah, not smart. But then, do you think he didn't get suspended because he was ejected and missed what, 3/4 of that game? Is that kind of essentially what the thought is?
I think what it is he threw punches, and that's a suspension right there. And I think the difference is that Evans didn't really throw punches. He just had a dirty hit on the sideline, I guess. And then I don't know if they got the flag. I just saw the replay of the hit, but I think it's different because he wasn't really throwing punches or trying to fight. He just had a dirty move, I guess. And with no history for Evans, as far as I know, there's no justification to suspend him. It's just the fighting. They're over that.
But they did suspend Evans, and they didn't suspend Green.
Oh, right. The reason I think it is because Green got ejected then and missed the game. Maybe they just count that as his suspension. I don't know.
Yeah.
Totally mixed those two up.
It's okay, you're drunk. Don't worry. I'm glad that only one of them got suspended because I have both of them on one team.
Yeah, it's crazy. At least it's not playoffs or something, and we're all missing a person for the playoffs.
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about Adrian Peterson getting 37 carries last week. Like, who gets 37 carries anymore? Especially a 33-year-old running back. Like nobody does that. I think it was a record for running back over 30 to get that many carries. And I was just looking to see, like, is he going to get the same or a similar type of volume this week? And he does have 20 carries already. We're just in the third quarter right now. His production is far worse though, as he's only got 36 yards. But like, what do you think they continue this week in, week out with him?
I think what happened last week is that San Francisco's so bad at stopping the run that you just keep running the ball with Peterson. I mean, they don't have anybody else. All their other running backs are terrible. So Give the guy the ball and let him do his thing, I guess. But I mean, I get that he's older now or whatever, but I think it's just a game plan for that team. And obviously they're trying to run the ball now, but they're still in the game, so they have a shot, I guess. But I think it was more just kill the clock last week and let the Niners be bad at defense.
You could have just stopped at let the Niners be bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good game plan. Is to let the other team just puke all over themselves and let your workhorse run it out. I 37 carries is absolutely insane. But I think at the end of the day, if you think about it, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Just run them into the ground at this point. I mean, there's not much else going right for your team. You got to grind out wins because you have Drew Stanton as your quarterback. There's really nothing going well for the Cardinals right now. So, I mean, and yet strangely enough, like we talked about, they're still what 4-4. So, I mean.
Yeah.
They're not completely out of it. They could go on a little run if they can get, if they can make some, beat some bad teams. So you got to play to your strengths, right? It's like exactly what Jacksonville's doing in with Bortles. Just limit the amount he has to throw.
Yeah, I think it's and they're not going to have Peterson next year, I'm assuming. So might as well run him into the ground this year, right? And keep playing football or whatever.
Their offense is going to be entirely different next year. Like, I think the biggest piece that will still be there is David Johnson, but they're going to have to lean on him so much. I don't know. I kind of don't think that that's going to be an offense that will want to touch moving forward after this year, other than David Johnson. But
I'd like to see what they do with quarterback, right? Because for one, Carson Palmer may come back. I still don't know that even if he does, I don't know they really want him. But there are some quarterbacks that could be out there this year, and you think about a guy like Sam Bradford may leave Minnesota. Teddy Bridgewater is actually, I think, a free agent as well. There are other guys out there. There's even been rumors somewhere along the line that Jimmy Garoppolo might not even sign with San Francisco after they traded for him, which is crazy to me, but I don't see it happening. But at the same time, it's possible. There could be some guys out there that are available to them. So and they have other pieces in place. So they still have a somewhat talented defense. They have David Johnson, which is really all you need. And if they could, and some talented young wide receivers that with the right quarterback could make some noise. So I'm curious to see what they do with the quarterback position. I'm not counting their offense out yet, and I'm not downgrading David Johnson going forward until I see what they do in the offseason.
Yeah, that's fair. I just think that they're on the precipice of like really falling off, and like obviously you're still going to want Johnson on your team no matter what happens until you're proven otherwise that he somehow falls off a cliff if that offense goes bad, which I don't think would happen. But I heard the comparison just today. I think on the Dynasty Blueprint, they were talking about he could be in a situation similar to Gurley was last year with a terrible offense where he's the only thing that they have, and every other defense can just scheme to prevent him.
What if they made a big play for Kirk Cousins?
That's what I was just going to ask. Are they the new favorites for Kirk Cousins? I could see it, but they're going to be in trouble if they don't do anything. I think that that team's going to get worse going forward unless they really pull some big moves this offseason. But Kirk Cousins over there would be pretty big. Him and David Johnson would be a nice pairing, I think.
Here's another one to think about, and I don't know that he's going to leave. But Drew Brees is a free agent coming out of New Orleans, too.
Nobody wants Drew Brees anyway.
Interesting. I'm not surprised to hear that take.
That might be
like
more fantasy football related than real football, but
you know what, Derek, I did tell Kevin that I'm going to give him 5 minutes. I'm going to put you right on the spot like you did me wrong. And I'm going to give him 5 minutes to pitch this trade to you one last time before you completely shut it down.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, so well, I guess if we're going to get into this, we should talk about the league a little bit, right? I mean, many of the people listening probably know the Capitalist Pigs leagues. It's created by Scott Fish. Overall the scoring isn't too crazy. They're two 12-team divisions basically, and super flex. So quarterbacks are relatively important, and I've been trying to get Derek to move one of his many running backs for one of my many quarterbacks. This particular quarterback being Drew Brees. I guess I'm curious. Before I get into my reasons why, I don't know if you want to talk about your roster a little bit or give me some background as to why you don't think you need Drew Brees.
Yeah, you know what? Let me jump in here for Derek, because Derek's been asking me about this trade for seems like a week now. He's in first place in his division. It's a it's a super flex league, so he can start 2 quarterbacks. But right now, his quarterbacks are Case Keenum, Kaiser, Josh McCown, Trevor Siemian, Drew Stanton, and TJ Yates. I don't know if you can hear my voice, but as I was reading the list, I'm literally laughing at his quarterbacks.
As you should.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. My quarterbacks suck right now, except for Josh McCown. He's been great.
Right.
And okay, obviously I have no long-term quarterback solution, and as I've mentioned to Jason numerous times, and even Kevin, I've definitely screwed up by trading Derek Carr for long-term purposes, and I have Carson Palmer on IR as well, so I've had decent options to play with. But it's a start 10 league, and similar to what we were talking about earlier in the episode, it's got a lot of flex spots. Like you only have to start 1 running back, and you have to start 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and the rest are flex. And you can start up to 6 running backs. And it's also a 0.25 point per carry, which nobody has mentioned yet. So running backs are actually extremely valuable. And while my quarterbacks are laughable, my running backs are in no particular order, are Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette, Devontae Freeman, Melvin Gordon, Joe Mixon, and CJ Anderson. So there's 6 startable running backs right there. I can start all of them. Then if I look at my wide receivers, which I have to start 2, there's Keenan Allen, Doug Baldwin, Chris Hogan, Demaryius Thomas, Cole Beasley, and Travis Benjamin. So if I have to only pick 2 of those ones, I can pretty easily say Keenan and Baldwin or Demaryius Hogan. There's a bunch of combinations I can pick there. And then at tight end, I only have to start 1. I have Rob Gronkowski and Tyler Kroft, who Tyler Kroft is not a big name, but he has been a tight end 1, I think, for the last 5 weeks. So if I start those 6 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and Gronk, that's 9 people. I only need to start 1 quarterback. And McCown has been great. So right now, I don't need anybody else.
All right. So here's the thing, and I told you this, and I'll say it again. There is no more perfect trade partners. I've never seen a more perfect trade playing career than you and I have right now. It's unbelievable how well this lines up. I am a contending team, or was a contending team that has fallen out of contention because of the bad luck. Hence, I'm willing to trade you Drew Brees, who is by all accounts a top, I don't know, where do you want to put him? Top 5? I'll be generous and I'll say he's only top 5 quarterbacks in a super flex league. Granted, he's old, so his dynasty value is a little lower. However, you are in first place. You are the points leader. You are primed for a championship, and you are going to roll out on your championship roster Josh McCown and Case Keenum or whoever else that you threw out there. Case Keenum, who we just talked about, may lose his job to Teddy Bridgewater. So, meanwhile, your roster is consistent of incredible running backs. You've done a great job of building a running back stable. But one of the best parts about the fact that you have all those running backs is that you can afford to lose one. You can afford to give one up. And because of that, and I'm actually able to give up Drew Brees because I've made some interesting trades and I've ended up with Jared Goff, and I still have some other good players on my roster. I have Jimmy Garoppolo, who looks like he'll be a starter next year, and I have Andrew Luck, who hopefully will come back from the shoulder injury next year. So I'm set at quarterback even with trading Drew Brees. Like I said, there is no better trade that will ever come about because it's a super flex league. I can give away a top quarterback to a championship contending roster and get a good running back for value, in my opinion, back. I've offered to let you choose the running back you want, basically, outside of Mixon and C.J. Anderson. You can pick any of the other ones. Gordon's excluded too because there's multiple leagues and he's on my roster as well, so you can't do that one. But so you basically get to choose your least favorite of Fournette, Freeman, and Gurley, and send them over my way for a quarterback that's going to take you over the top. I get that you only have to start one quarterback because of the way the league's set up. But if you look at the statistics in the league, you look at the top 25 players, 11 of them are QBs. Now, I get it, a lot of the others are running backs, but there's some wide receivers mixed in there as well. And ultimately, I think we all know that in any super flex league, whether you can start two or not, starting two quarterbacks is always a good idea. The potential for points is much higher with quarterbacks than it is with any other position in football. That's why we play super flex because we like that extra scoring, right? So I don't see how you don't make this deal. It's amazing to me.
Just because I am looking at the Saints' playoff schedule, and it looks great on paper. They play the Falcons, the Jets, and the Falcons again. All three teams that Breeze should just light up. But they have a better defense. Their passing has decreased, and I don't know if that's because Breeze himself has fallen off or just game script wise they don't need to because they've got Ingram and Kamara that can run the ball, and they don't need to throw the ball as much. And if you look at overall scoring, Freeman and Breeze have scored about the same amount of points to date in that league. And I don't really see that changing. And long term, Breeze is not a better long term quarterback option or long term team option. Freeman is still young, and he's going to be one of the top running backs in the league for years to come. He just got the big extension in the offseason. So right now, you make a lot of really good points. Like I can see why it makes sense. It would make sense for me to do this deal if I just wanted to push all into this year. But I think that the roster construction that I have allows me the ability to not make the deal because getting Breeze does not help me. It maybe helps me right now, maybe, and I don't even think it helps me that much. I don't think it helps me too much in the long term because I think he could be done after this year, or maybe one more season. I don't think he's got a lot left.
Now, if I can jump in, because I'm in the league, but I'm not involved in the trade. But Derek's been asking me for about a week about this, and I've been telling him since the beginning that he should probably get Drew Brees. But if I was Derek, my concern is that when playoffs roll around and the Jets are out of this season, because they're getting close to being out, what happens when McCown's not the starter? And then what? Keenum's not the starter now either. We just talked about that. And then Trevor Simeon's going to be done, or he's done already. Drew Stanton is going to score 4 points a game or whatever he's scoring. Kaiser, who knows what's going on there. Yates is not going to be doing anything either. Then you'll have zero quarterbacks going in the playoffs. Probably not a good strategy.
You know, the other thing too is you mentioned that you're worried your long-term construction. You're worried about Drew Brees and his length of time left in the league. I give him, I think he's got at least another year after this, at least maybe 2, maybe 3 if he really keeps himself in shape. There's not a single quarterback on your roster that'll play next year as a starter. I mean, we talked about Carson Palmer, and he's on your IR. Maybe he comes back. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know if you want him. I doubt. Josh McCown might get a backup job somewhere, or maybe he gets a spot start somewhere. Case Keenum's not the answer anywhere. We know that the Browns are going to end up drafting another quarterback, so there's no Deshaun Kaiser next year. And Trevor Siemian has basically lost his job, and I don't see him getting a job anywhere. So literally, TJ Yates and Drew Stanton. I think we can all agree they're not going to have jobs next year either. So I think
they're quarterbacks.
Drew Brees has the best chance to start next year out of any of the people that you have on your roster right now. And here's the other piece: you are actually hamstringing yourself by having all of these quarterbacks on there, because you can't cut any of them because you don't know which one you're going to start from week to week. So you now have 6 quarterbacks on your roster, and you can't pick anyone up because the roster sizes are so slim during the season. So you have a 20 per player cap, and 25% of those are quarterbacks.
I have a question. Is if I don't make this deal today, is it dead in your mind? Like, there's still 3 weeks left, I think, before a trade deadline. Because that's what I said to you before. Was like, I'm not opposed to this necessarily, but I want to see where things go over the next couple of weeks.
So, look, I'm not going to say it's dead. You can always come to me and approach me with the offer. But at the end of the day, right, the longer the season goes, the less benefit I have of actually getting these running backs on my roster. While I think I'm probably done for the season, there's, if I were to get a running back with the quarterbacks I also have on my roster, I might be able to make a little push and at least get in the playoffs. So the longer it goes for me, plus the chances of you getting into the championship go higher and higher with each week you win. And then, maybe my price goes up a little bit. You really need that quarterback.
If another team decides that they need a quarterback,
also could move Drew Brees somewhere else.
Fair enough.
Oh man,
what's the price on Goff right now?
I like where this is going.
Oh man, I see. You've talked about that a little bit. I really like what Goff is doing this year. I'll tell you, coming into the season, I was weary of what he would end up, but I think that they're opening that offense up more and more every week. He's young. He was a top overall pick, so he's got some cachet as far as not losing his job anytime soon. And McVay looks like he could be the coach of the year. So that price is getting higher by the week. I'll tell you right now, it's not it's not a 1-for-1. I don't know that I could do it in a 2 quarterback league with a guy like that. It's close, but I think I'd be holding out for probably Gurley or Fournette at least. I think Freeman would be off the table, and I may want some juice in it too.
But you would take Freeman for Brees straight up.
He's my least favorite of the 3, right? So, but yeah, I think I would take Freeman for Brees straight up, and only because of my running back need versus my quarterback need. It's close for me to be honest with you. I'm curious, Jason, what would you do if you were me? Would you be making this offer?
I think so. If I remember right, you're right, maybe in the middle of the pack. Your quarterbacks are set up. Like you said, I think I have Goff ahead of Brees in value now too. So I'd be trying to move him. I mean, I'd be asking everybody. Not me. I'm not going to take Drew Brees from you, but I'd be asking the people who are close and seeing what you can get. I think you can get a guy like Freeman or somebody in that value. I mean, they should be worth that at least. It makes sense for a team to make the push. I mean, there's teams out there that are close. I mean, Dan's starting to sneak up on Derek's scores too, but he's pretty set. But there's got to be somebody out there who's just a quarterback away. Yeah.
Just to be clear, by the way, Dan has inquired a couple of times about Drew Brees. I'm not to put any pressure on you.
I'm aware, but you keep saying his offers are terrible in Voxer, so I'm not.
Well,
really...
so far they have been, but it's only a matter of time before he gets desperate enough.
All right. Well, I'm inching towards making the deal.
All right. You don't have to make the deal right now, but I wanted to give Kevin some time to try and pressure you.
Okay. He's made his pitch.
To send the offer.
So just for full disclosure, Dynasty Trade Calculator has Drew Brees in a 12-team Superflex at a 26.5 value, Devonta Freeman at a 30-point value. So you're definitely Freeman. In all honesty, I probably shouldn't tell you that because that'll just make you doubt it even more. Freeman's got a little more value, but I think in your situation, that gives the edge to Brees because you're so close to a championship there.
I certainly have far more need at quarterback than I do at running back. You're not wrong about that.
Yeah, the calculator doesn't factor in situations.
Yeah, and it doesn't factor in the quarter point per carry either. But
that is also correct.
Still, it's close. I points made and taken. I will let it digest.
Well, to move on and kind of stay on the same point, actually, we want to talk about some buying and selling. Derek specifically put on here, if you're a contender but you have a big name player on IR, such as David Johnson or Delvin Cook or
Odell Beckham.
Zeke. Zeke is now suspended, apparently for real, for 6 games. So depending on what kind of league you're in, the suspension, you can put them on IR. I'm trying to pry away Zeke from Scott Fish right now, just because I'm totally out of Pigs 1 and trying to get him there. But as far as contending and having the IR player, I'm all about trying to sell him. I sold David Johnson in our Roughing the Passer best ball league that Kevin is in with the Falafel guys. Made a huge trade there for a bunch of pieces to try and make a push in there. But I'm all about it. I mean, some guys like Dalvin Cook, it's a lot more difficult because of who they are. It would totally depend on the situation and what your team is and if you really need an extra piece to do it. But I'm about making the push if you're there now. We're getting close to a lot of leagues' trade deadlines if it hasn't already passed at all. But we're here to win, right?
My biggest question on this is I am too. I'm for moving those guys for win now pieces, but how much of a discount are you willing to sell at? Because I've only got one league where I've got this situation, and it's the Pigs 2 one where I've got Dalvin Cook. But as you saw the same thing, Jason, because you had the same type of situation with Cook and multiple player copies, you're not really getting great value. I mean, like, who sells Dalvin Cook for Derrick Henry? But like, how much of a discount are you willing? Yeah, how much of a discount are you willing to take?
Yeah, the Derrick Henry thing might have been a mistake on my part, but again, it's Derrick Henry. His value is not going anywhere. If anything, his value is going to go up. So I wasn't too concerned about making that trade. I thought maybe with DeMarco Murray still being injured again and all that stuff that Derrick Henry might take over, might be worth it. But I have a ton of running backs in that league anyway, so I don't really need him. But yeah, I was hoping he would contribute a little bit more that way.
I mean, they're both 2018 plays, but with Henry you have the upside of potentially this year, right? So,
right.
I mean, I can't fault you for it if you're in contention. It's not that short-sighted. It's not like Henry's an aged veteran that's going to be out of the league in 2 years. So I think Dalvin Cook's a lot more talented and should be a better back overall for a career. I think Henry's a pretty top prospect, and I think we all know that next year if DeMarco Murray is no longer on the Titans, you're going to see Derrick Henry as a first-round draft pick. So,
yeah, no, I just wanted to take a shot at Jason for that.
Yeah. Hey, let's not forget that I got Jason Witten in that deal as well, and tight ends are valued a little bit more than wide receivers. I mean, Jason Witten is basically scoring as much as Brandon Cooks is, So he's not just a throwaway piece that I got in there. I got him too.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But yeah, I mean, if you're in okay, you don't want to give away a player for a player just to win now. You still want to get at least close to value. I mean, if I had a guy like Devonta Freeman, I'd be getting. No, I'm just kidding. I just feel like you got to make the push, and you have to address needs if you have to. But at the same time, you don't want to just give away the players. I mean, I say that I'm trying to get Zeke from Scott, but I offered him Stephon Diggs and Jordan Howard, so which I think is a fair deal. As much as people hate Jordan Howard and people tell me that he's worth a mid-second, which is garbage. I think it's a solid deal for somebody who's trying to make a push.
I like that deal. I don't think that's bad. Diggs has kind of won me over a little bit this year, and then obviously he gets injured, so I'm a little leery there. But I do like Diggs. I'm a big Jordan Howard believer, so I think that's he's not Ezekiel Elliott obviously, but I think with those two, that's a solid offer for a guy that's going to sit out for the next 6 weeks. The problem you'll have in that league, in any league with trading for a guy like Zeke, is it only works if the Zeke contender doesn't think he'll be playing in week 16, right? And I think in that league, Scott Fish probably has eyes on being still playing in week 16, right? He's still in the points, he's in the playoffs. If he can carry through for the next few weeks without Zeke, he should make the playoffs. Hopefully he goes on a little bit of a run and gets there. Chances are slim, but at the end of the day, maybe that's what he's holding out hope for. So you got to try and find a guy that owns Zeke that doesn't have that chance.
Right. Well, the reason why I went for Scott's copy of Zeke instead of, I don't even know who owns the other copy, to be honest with you, is because Scott, his only two other running backs are Marshawn Lynch and Adrian Peterson. So it's not like he's getting points from these guys. I mean, besides their fluke weeks, like last week for AP and Marshawn Lynch for his first 2 touchdown game in 3 years or whatever. You only have to start one, so I get that. But these aren't guys that are winning you weeks like Zeke was. So, I mean, Jordan Howard is scoring, regardless of what people want to think. He is a top running back. So I think it at least helped keep him afloat then. And I agree, he does want that player in the playoffs, but maybe you just kind of make sure you survive to even get to the playoffs first, because that's the championship week. And in that type of league, it's hard to even get there anyway.
Very true. And the other guy that has it in the league is Matt Price. And he's
totally unreasonable player.
He's on the other side of the spectrum where he's lost Aaron Rodgers, Julian Edelman, Brandon Marshall, and now Zeke Elliott. And James Winston. His team's struggling. I don't know that he's looking at this year, so Zeke being out isn't helping him, or isn't affecting him.
I think it's a solid offer though too, and I think Scott even said himself in the Voxer chat just today that he's considering it. He thinks it's a really great offer. It's just he's on the fence about it because it's just like it's a fair offer, and it's just which way do you want to go? Kind of like a Breeze Freeman type deal.
Right, and I totally get when you trade a player like Zeke and his value, you want to blow me away type player. I think I missed the boat on Diggs's cap for value this year anyway. I think it'll go back up, but I figure it could help somebody win right now. And Zeke is obviously a player I would want on my team next year when I'm trying to make a push, when I actually have reasonable players. I took over this team after the first couple weeks, I think, and it just wasn't even anywhere close to a good team. So I'm just trying to get some type of players on my team.
Well, let's make a deal then.
Let's. Oh, you want Jason?
I'll trade you. I'll trade you Drew Brees
for Jordan Howard.
Yeah, you want 2 copies of Jordan Howard? I wish it would work that way. Because honestly, in talking to Derek about this, I was like, man, maybe I should give Kevin Jordan Howard for Drew Brees. And then I went to your team and I'm like, Of course, he's the other owner of Jordan Howard.
Jordan Howard, right? Yeah. That is the one thing with the 2-copy league. Every time I go to make a deal, I'm like, and sometimes I even forget who's on my roster. I'm like, oh, I really like. I look at your team and I'll be like, oh, I should really try and get Jordan Howard from him. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I already have Jordan Howard. So
yeah, Alan Hepworth sent me a trade offer when he first took over his team, and it included Tevin Coleman. And I'm like, oh, I kind of like Tevin Coleman. I go look. I'm like, I have Tevin Coleman. I'm like, why did you do that? He's like, yeah. He's like, I kind of just threw that in there to be funny, but yeah, it's unfortunate that we can't have multiple copies of the same player in a league, but I guess that makes a little bit of sense. I don't have a deal for you, Kevin, right now, but in the offseason, I'm gonna have some money and I'm gonna want to make some moves, similar to how I did in the other Pigs League, and we'll see how I end up. So you might be hearing from me for Drew Brees, but
well, you got me stressing right now because I'm thinking I might go make that offer right away.
Derek will drag his feet long enough. You can just buy Drew Brees off me straight up for your picks and cash.
maybe do you like Tevin Coleman enough for me to send you him for Drew Brees?
Maybe not quite enough to get Drew Brees. But,
well, I figured I had to throw some cash or something on there.
Let's say Tevin Coleman, maybe some cash and a first, the first round pick there. Now we're talking.
I hate you both.
Oh, that means it's working.
I know you guys are colluding against me.
I'm not even trying to goat you into a bad trade. I think this is a trade that you should make, and I just don't know how to. I don't know how to tell you that.
What about CJ Anderson and something else, Kevin?
I haven't.
CJ Anderson and Devonta Freeman for Goff, you mean? Is that what you're trying to do? I don't understand where you went with that one.
No. All right. I've got the screen open. I want to click propose.
He's doing it. He's going to do it right here.
All right. Well,
I literally have the screen open. I have Brees and Freeman checked off. I just can't hit propose yet.
While you're figuring that out, I do want to talk about our article, #doing_things. It's on our list to talk about tonight. Last week, I went in on Alfred Morris because I thought Zeke was actually going to be suspended. And then even after he got suspended, you guys gave me the chance to back out, put somebody else in there.
Multiple chances.
I refused to take it. Now, part of it is because I drank for about 72 hours straight. So maybe I was a little bit on the lazy side. But the other part of me was dead set on the fact that I thought the Cowboys were going to still give Morris carries in preparation for when Zeke actually gets suspended, which is apparently now. I again don't believe it until Sunday happens and he's not on the field. But man, he got one carry for 11 yards, I think. So good average, but did not get the carries I expected him to. So I lost. I have this terrible picture of me with ketchup on there, which it's terrible. I told Derek as soon as I saw it, I literally gagged looking at it. But Kevin's gonna join us now for the article, and we're gonna have some more competition. I don't even know if there's 3 players that qualify, but we're gonna find out.
I think we'll find some players. I tried to cheat. Obviously. So I woke up to. Obviously, I edit the article for falafelhouse.com and I put it up there. And I woke up. I was supposed to do it the night before. I woke up in the morning and I was like, you know what? I can't let it slide with this guy with just Alfred Morris. I can't let Derek just walk into the victory. So I got to throw something out there. And I tried to cheat. I tried to use Alvin Kamara because I thought the rules were only 2. You second on the team in any category, right? You couldn't be first in any category. I didn't realize it was first for your position in any category. And obviously, Kamara is leading the running backs in receiving receptions, I think. So he was excluded. I had to rewrite it again. Not my best pick, Devontae Parker. I think we all lost, really. But
Again,
yeah.
That's 3 weeks running.
But Jason actually lost, so I think we'll find some players. It'll be a good, fun matchup this week. I gotta know though, because I'm not. I mean, I'm not privy to. How do you hate ketchup that much?
man, ketchup is the worst condiment for anything. I mean, I eat ketchup on cheeseburgers, but that's about it for me. Like ketchup just ruins everything else, and I see people put ketchup, like just the smell of ketchup by itself makes me gag a little bit. But
I'll give you this: ketchup on scrambled eggs makes me sick. I don't know how people do that. I'll give you that one.
I used to do that when I was a kid, but now just the smell of it just doesn't sit well with me. I mean, anything that you can put ketchup on, you can use barbecue sauce for, and barbecue sauce is way better than ketchup. So I just don't understand how people eat that.
I'm not putting barbecue sauce on a hot dog. It's just not happening.
All right, well, you're not supposed to put ketchup on hot dogs either. So
according to Scott Fish, that is correct, but I still put ketchup on hot dogs.
I agree. Ketchup definitely goes on hot dogs.
But when I first saw that
the
two pictures that you were proposing as far as for him losing this bet, I thought that it had for some reason I got the Canadian aspect confused. I thought that the ketchup thing, I was thinking ketchup chips, and then there was a whole Canadian thing. I thought you were just making him, maybe Canadians just loved ketchup so much that you wanted him to like ketchup. I don't know.
Well, it spawned from the ketchup chips talk way back in one of our earlier episodes, but Jason just went on to talk about what he just told you about ketchup being the worst condiment.
Yeah, it's just not the fact that ketchup chips are bad. It's just ketchup in general is terrible. So yeah, so I get to stare at that picture all weekend. I'll probably just take the weekend off. So but we appreciate everybody voting, and we're gonna try and I have I think a decent player this week, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
My player this week is definitely a long shot. So
yeah, Derek luckboxed into Sammy Watkins having one good catch. So whatever. My backup guy was Damian Williamson. Of course, he would have won.
Yeah, that would have been a pick.
It's too stubborn.
But yeah, so you should definitely check out our. Go ahead.
All right. I don't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. We were talking about the running backs, and I said if you're going to go with one, go with Williams, but I'd stay away from everybody because it's a gross situation.
Yeah, I think Drake had a pretty big day too. He would have won it as well. Either one of them would have won.
Oh yeah, good.
But yeah, either way, go check out our article, #doing things on flophouse.com. It'll be up there in the next couple days if Jason gets his act together. And Kevin too, I guess.
I'll get my act together.
It'll be up on Saturday.
And you can find the podcast on Twitter is @GutFeelsPod. Jason is @JasonTran. I am the FFRX, and Kevin is @Wally Central.
Before we close out, did you send that offer or what?
It's in the inbox.
Look at that. It worked.
Yeah, and I feel sick about it, but
I feel like he might be lying.
We're only hearing Derek's side of it again, like his rules.
I could screenshot it. It said trades you've offered to others. Devontae Freeman. They call me Mr. Pig. Drew Brees.
There we go. Oh, I do have a trade proposed. Here it is. Decline. It is here. Yeah, decline. I just need a little bit more, just a sweetener.
Now that we've talked about it at length, I think he feels a little bit higher on the Drew Brees side.
I am literally clicking accept. We've just made a deal.
All right, that's
the last time I made a live deal on this. It went horribly for me.
Fleeced him again.
Well, I really do think that's a good deal. That really rounds out your team. So
I agree. It is a good deal. I don't know why you didn't take it when I told you to take it last week.
Yeah, well, it's there now. I've got a quarterback.
Now it's done. There you go. And when all your other quarterbacks are benched going into the playoffs, you'll have one.
You don't have just one quarterback. You have 7 on your roster.
Well, I already dropped TJ Yates, so
I'm picking him up.
go ahead. Yeah.
Well, Kevin, thank you for coming on again. And like we mentioned, Steve will be on next week if everything goes as planned. So we appreciate you guys jumping in.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Kevin.